Hi, everybody. I know it can be very overwhelming, the amount of things you have to do as far as the college application process. So, first and foremost, I wanted to congratulate you for starting early. I'm being part of SAT prep and understanding that this is not something you can do last minute is really one of the most um, important things you can do to make the process easier and um, more streamlined over the next year, because it's going to take you from your junior year all the way into probably as late as May 1st of your senior year, because that's decision day. At May 1st, you're supposed to have decided on a college. But hopefully, if you do it well, it'll be long before that. And then you'll have some freedom to breathe and focus on local scholarship applications in that spring time of your senior year. So let's kind of take you through a step by step process. The college application process, as I said, is not a wait until the last minute endeavor. The phrase time is money is never more imperative because schools have limited scholarship money and they distribute it early. So, in truth, the early bird does get the worm. So, the quicker you can apply to schools, get acceptance letters, make a decision, the quicker they can give you a financial package, and you can kind of then shift your focus, like I said, to other scholarship avenues to help defray the cost. And by the cost, I mean not just the cost of the school, but you're going to have travel expenses, you're going to have supplies, you're going to have all of that stuff to worry about. So, step one, which you're already doing, prepare for and take the tests. Ideally, you should take the test twice in your junior year. Most people do May and June. Some people do March and May, depending on which sports you're involved in and things like that. You might want to avoid taking it directly in the middle of your primary sports season. So that kind of is determined by your own personal schedule, but definitely later in the year, so your math has a chance to get to a higher SAT level, and you want to take it twice in your junior year. Ideally, you can be twice and done, even more ideally, one and done, but that rarely happens. So you have two opportunities to take it in your senior year. August, there's a test at the end of August, and there's a test the first Saturday of October. Once you get to that first Saturday test in October, beyond that, you're getting a little late in the process because you're already past early application deadlines and things like that. So you really want to make sure that you have your testing aspect done by early on in your senior year. Now, this will also serve another purpose. It'll give you a realistic idea of where you stand in terms of college. So let's say you take the SATs in May of your junior year and you score X. Then you know you're probably not going to improve much more than 100 points beyond that. And that would be a significant improvement. So that gives you a realistic framework of how to then strata your schools with reach schools, target schools, and safety schools. So this test preparation early is extremely important. Um, Next thing you want to do, and this is probably also later on in your junior year, you want to start taking care of your paperwork. And by paperwork, I mean two major pieces of the application that you'll want to tackle before this summer, the summer of your junior year. So you'll want to first have at least a working draft of your college application essay. This will actually be an assignment that you have in your senior ACP or AP coursework, but to have that draft allows you to apply to some schools early, and it allows you to have a working document as you go into that vital summer between your junior and senior year. Also, you'll want to request letters of recommendation early. So you'll probably want two, but three is usually a better number of teachers writing you a recommendation letter. So here's how I would set it up. I would first ask them before the summer break. Me personally, I'll write 10 or 12 letters over the summer, and that'll kind of lessen my workload in the fall. So I really do appreciate it when students ask me early. You'll want one teacher who is in your chosen field of study. So if you're going to be a PA, so you're majoring in the science field, you'll want at least one of those letters from a science teacher. You'll want one general teacher letter. So consider the things that you're involved in, the teachers that you think knows you well, and ask that person for a letter. If you're involved in theater, you might want to ask Miss Mack for a letter. If you're involved in DECA, you might want to ask one of the Flannerys for a letter. So think about the people that know you best and the things that you're most involved in. And then you'll want to ask your guidance counselor for a letter. They have kind of a form letter that they use, but some schools specifically require a letter from a guidance counselor. It's kind of odd because a guidance counselor doesn't see you in a classroom setting, but I guess they want your overall vision. So some schools will ask specifically for that. So you want to take care of all of that before the end of your junior year. Okay, and then at the same time, in the spring of your junior year, you should be trying to make your list. And we've talked about the actual list and what it will look like, and you'll have kind of a guide for that. But I also want to encourage you. I know it's a weird time right now, but I want to encourage you to schedule at least a few visits during the spring of your junior year. This way, if you're a marching band person or a football player, fall gets very congested as far as your personal schedule. So you'll want to do at least a couple in your junior year. Bear in mind that it doesn't always have to be a Saturday, because I know a lot of you work on Saturdays or have other things going on. You're actually allotted 3 excused absences each year for college visits. So use them. Take a random Tuesday in April and go on a visit. Visit 3 colleges in a day, and then do it again later on in May. This way you can visit lots of colleges. You're not getting penalized for an absence, and all you need to do is get just a proof of your visit. They have letters from the admissions that will count, and you just submit that to the attendance office, and it's an excused absence. Also, when you're on college visits, be certain to ask about application fee waivers on your tours. Most schools outside of state schools will give you an application fee waiver. And when it comes time to apply, if you're paying $70, even $50 or $40 per application, and you're applying to 7 schools, that adds up. So you want to make sure you get those fee waivers. I can tell you from personal experience, both of my kids each applied to a total of 5 schools. So 10 schools total were applied to, and we only paid 2 application fees. So with Emily, we paid for our application at TCNJ because it was a state school. And for Ryan, we paid for our application at Temple. Everything else was free. So make sure you ask that question. It seems like a trivial question, but if you're saving for $400 or $500, it is an important question to ask. Okay, welcome to your senior year now. So now it's fall of your senior year. You want to make sure that you've completed all of the information portion of your common application. You haven't submitted them yet, but it takes about a half hour to 45 minutes to fill out all of the information. And in that, it has all of your activities, your jobs, things like that. So you want to make sure you have that all complete. The Common App usually opens up on August 1st, so you can actually take care of that later on in the summer as well. And again, I'll say it, before you submit any Common App applications, check on application fee waivers. If you didn't get to go on a tour, just send a quick email to the admissions people, ask them if they have a code, Ask your teachers. I always get it as an alumnus. I always get a code for Seton Hall. So ask your teachers if you're applying to certain schools that you know they went to. Ask them about application fee waivers as well. Understand how you're applying. So as you get to the point of pressing send or submit of an application, make sure you understand how you're applying. There are 4 basic admissions applications. The standard admissions application, you apply and you are notified on the given date by the school. So let's say I apply standard admission to Boston University. I know they are going to their application decision day is April 1st, so I will not have a decision until April 1st from BU. So I may get other decisions before that, but that one is always going to be out there waiting for me last minute. Rolling admissions. Rolling admissions is more common today. It's basically you apply and then the school renders a decision as the application comes in. Usually it's about a 6-week turnaround. So if theoretically, if you apply to a school, like I'll give you an example. My daughter applied to Arcadia. She got an application fee waiver when we went on the tour. She applied late in August because she had everything ready. She had a decision by early October. She was admitted. So she already had that one checked off that she got accepted to. Same thing with Seton Hall. She knew she was going to apply there. I was an alumnus there, so she applied and had a decision by early October. So the rolling admission is a nice kind of perk because you get a decision pretty early. Early action, in contrast, is also a school-decided date, but it's moved way up. Usually you have to submit by November 1st. Some schools differ, so make sure you check. It could be as early as October 15th you need to submit your application. Could be as late as December 1st, but it's usually in that window. And with early action, the school has a separate application pool. It's non-binding, but if you apply early action, you're expressing significant interest in the school, so to speak. And so they will render a decision earlier. Usually that's around January 15th or so. So an early action becomes beneficial to you, but not all schools have that. So be mindful. Early decision is very different from early action. Early action is non-binding. Early decision is theoretically binding. In other words, you sign a contract that if you apply to a school early decision, you are committing to go to that school. And there are just a couple of rare exceptions that can get you out of that binding contract. But the school expects that when you sign that agreement, once you are admitted, you will withdraw all other applications from all other schools and you will be attending that school. Obviously, it increases your chances of admission because they want somebody that's going to go there. But it also means that you're kind of sacrificing any decisions, except for some of the exceptions are you've had a significant life change and you need to postpone admissions, or there are extenuating financial circumstances, so you cannot afford the school. And usually there's a 3-step process to that. You have to apply for an appeal for financial aid, and then you have to meet with somebody, and then it goes to the admissions chairperson, and they have to sign off on releasing you from the early decision contract. Okay, so in the meantime, you should be taking care of some finances. Beginning October 1st, you can fill out your FAFSA form online. This is a daunting task. You need your tax information from the previous year. You need your lists of schools that you're applying to. This is something that your parents will have to do with you. You cannot do it alone because you need all of their financial information. Takes about probably an hour or so to get through the process, but it's vital because this is then sent to, you'll get a household contribution number from FAFSA. It's not a number that is realistic, but that's the number that's sent to schools, and then schools will decide on your need-based package based on the FAFSA information that you've submitted to the federal government. It also qualifies you for Pell Grants, but very few people do get Pell Grants, and it also qualifies you for work-study programs, which a lot of people get, and it's a good supplement for finances while you're in college. So it's a necessary step. Make sure you do it early. The quicker you get your FAFSA done, the earlier you can get your financial aid packages from schools. And then we wait. Depending on the schools you've applied to, you will receive some acceptances early, others you'll have to wait for. And you have to know kind of when those are coming in and base your decision on it. So if you get the financial package you want from a school you applied rolling admissions to, but you know you still have a couple of others out there, you're going to have to wait to commit. Or if you know this is the school you want, you got in, you can go ahead and commit and then not worry about the acceptance to other schools. More importantly, some schools will share financial packages with you right away. Others will have you wait. Make sure that you've filled out the FAFSA early, because the financial package is essential to your decision making. And once you've gotten all of the information, then you can sit down and weigh out all of your options carefully. Once it's time to make the decision, don't just follow the name. Think about academics, think about economics. Also consider the travel expenses that go along with the school. For example, if you're going to school in, let's say you're deciding between a school in Pennsylvania and a school in Florida, and the school in Florida is about $1,000 cheaper than the school in Pennsylvania. They're academically equivalent. Remember travel expenses, because you go to Florida and you're going, the phrase we use in my house is, you have a school you can come home on weekends if you want, a school you can come home maybe once a month, and then it's see you on Thanksgiving and Christmas, depending on where you go, because you're going to be buying plane tickets and people aren't going to be coming to visit. So there's other travel expenses when you go far away. Also consider the expenses of supplies when you're calculating, and especially when you're thinking about local scholarships. If you're going into a tech program, like an engineering or architecture program, you're going to have to buy a special computer. If you're going into other certain programs, you'll have to buy lab equipment. You'll have to buy something as simple as a lab coat. There's expenses with any program that you get into, so be aware of those expenses as well. So base your decision on all the information, not just what you want to see. And I cannot say this more clearly, and it's so important. Get others involved. You are not going to be able to make the financial decision alone. So it's important that you get your parents in the loop from the beginning. Take them on the college visits. Let them see that look in your eyes when you see this school, and let them have that look too. It changes their mindset, and it opens them up to understanding that maybe it's not just about dollars and cents, it's about the experience. And that adds to the conversation. Also, a quick email to your guidance counselor so they're in the loop. Hey, Mr. Loughran, I applied to these three schools this weekend. Can you send out my information? I'm excited about it. Just so they know where you're applying each step of the way. It's important because later on that will help you kind of fill in all of those gaps and get that process complete. Okay, so I hope this helped. There are some other things that we'll go over on more extensively in other screencasts and other discussions, but this is just kind of a general outline so you know what your schedule over the next year looks like in terms of the college process.